Should we talk about Ollie Watkins for a second?
Yeah.
Wow, what's changed with him this season? And talk to us about this record that he's broken, this run that he's on at the moment.
Right. Can I just say, I've been an Ollie Watkins enthusiast from the day he joined Villa, and I've never let that slip. I have hated any moment of criticism that he's ever got. I think whenever
Mm.
he's been on the pitch for Villa, he's given 110%, and it's coming to fruition now because it feels like a repeat of what we just said about Man United. He's being coached properly, which I think makes all the difference for a striker. He had a difficult time under Gerrard, I think it's safe to say. And
Yeah,
I think even once Danny Ings came in at Villa, a good player should always push another player to be better. There was always a struggle to get that dynamic right with those two. And I think
yeah,
that's why I wasn't too upset about seeing Ings go in January. Not because I thought he was a bad player, but just because I'm really happy to see the trust that Emery's put into Watkins. And that is what's paying off right now. If you look at Villa's lineup since Emery's come in, Watkins is an ever present. He's the one that he's going to rely on. And he's rotated the rest of the forward line quite a lot. It's Bailey one week, or Duran might come in, or we might see
mm.
Buendia or Coutinho. But Watkins will always be there. And that vote of confidence from an elite level coach has to mean something to him. 5 goals, 5 games is outstanding for Ollie Watkins. Something that he's always been criticised for, not being a consistent enough goal scorer, which I think completely overlooks everything he does for Aston Villa. We've
Yeah.
talked so many times about his work rate, his off the ball movement, his passing ability. I think Watkins is exactly the kind of striker Villa need right now. I think if the irony is, say it didn't work with Danny Ings, Emery likes to play with two forwards, and I think with the right forward, we'd see an even better version of Ollie Watkins. But this is the player that's always been there. This is the player that got
Yeah,
into the England squad. This is the player that should be in the
true.
England squad. I don't think there's any doubt in my mind that this is who I want leading Villa's attack for another couple of years now. He's outstanding. I don't think it's a stretch to say he'll beat Villa's all-time goal scoring record in the Premier League at some point.
His finishing is incredible. I think
Yeah.
that often has gone unnoticed because he's been a bit more peripheral to the Aston Villa lineup with Gerrard in charge. And it's a real shame because it was a waste of talent.
Mm.
And I think Gerrard just tried to shoehorn too many players in too many positions, too many square pegs and too many round holes. He was often shunted wide quite a lot, wasn't he? But he's pretty much front and centre now as well. But I think you can't underplay the part that confidence makes on a striker.
Hmm.
And like you say, having a coach like Emery going, you're my striker, you're my number 9, basically. Go and show me what you can do. He's absolutely proven that right, hasn't he? And he's proved that Emery was right to back him as well by
Yeah.
not just selling Ings, but by giving him that huge vote of confidence as well.
And the system behind him is working better. The midfield is much better aligned than it was under Gerrard to provide him with the
Yeah.
right service. I mean, if you look at how McGinn and Ramsey played in this game, for example, they were excellent and they pressed high, just as Watkins does. I think too often, particularly under Gerrard, we saw Watkins doing everything by himself up front. He was the only one putting that pressure on. And then it's really easy
Yeah.
to pass your way around him and he looks like he's not been productive. But when he's got the support from the two number 10s that Emery picked in this game, that shows what his work ethic is worth. When everyone else takes his lead, that's a massive step for Villa in terms of getting past their playing out from the back system, or even as a Sean Dyche Everton might play. They hassled defenders who aren't that confident on the ball, and it worked. I think we saw with the second goal in particular with Buendia's footwork and McGinn
Yeah.
managing to get that ball over to him. What Villa are capable of doing when they attack teams, and Watkins wants to attack teams. He wants to be on the front foot, and that to me is such an important thing as a striker. I'm really interested to see what his
Absolutely.
role is next season because Emery has said quite openly, and it's very highly reported that we want a big number 9 to go alongside him at some point. There's massive talk that they're going to go back in for Tammy Abraham at some point, and it might be the right time to make that kind of move as Villa because his stock
Yeah.
is slightly lower than it was the season before. So we'll see, but I'm excited to have Watkins at Villa. Always have been. I've always wanted us to hold on to him whenever there's been interest from other clubs, and I think Emery clearly feels the same, and he's got that faith in him.
Yeah.
And I hope this goal scoring run continues. I'll tell you that much. Because we needed a win.
It appears that way, doesn't it? The confidence is there from the manager to the player. But a couple of questions for you related to Villa
Yeah.
generally, because you've been off the pod for a couple of weeks and really keen to get your take on the way things are going at the moment, because it's
Mm.
not been quite as positive as the last time we spoke. It's
Yeah.
been a few defeats on the bounce. First of all, Emi Martinez, his future, the incident, the way Emery came out and sort of publicly held him up as an example of, I don't know, defying his rules. What do you make of that? And can you see him being at Villa beyond the summer?
So that goes one of two ways. We have a Ten Hag Rashford situation where he's disciplined or called out and he goes, yep, I deserve that. I kick on and I do better. Or you have a player who feels disgruntled and thinks, oh, I don't need to be talked about like that. I thought it was an odd comment from Emery's point of view, if I'm totally honest. Not to dismiss anything he's doing, and I 100% back him in any decision he makes. But there was always reports that him and Martinez didn't get on that well at Arsenal. So if you're aware that that's murmuring on in the background, you support him 100%. He's right. Martinez should look to his manager for confirmation. He should do what the manager wants him to do. But I think you also have a duty of care to just protect the player in that situation, because it was a really unfortunate situation. But he was still in the starting lineup at the weekend. He's still one of the best goalkeepers in the world. In fact, he's up for the FIFA Men's Awards this evening. You have to keep him. You absolutely have to keep him, because there is no one better for Aston Villa right now. Villa could get 80 million for him. I don't think that's how much they get, but it doesn't matter how much money you give Aston Villa, they're not going to replace Emi Martinez with a better keeper. So why would you ever sell him? And he loves being at Villa. He said really openly he wants to win things at Villa. And I think we're on the right trajectory to do that if we invest around world-class players, not sell them on. So yeah, it would be ludicrous to let him go. And I was really glad that not only did we get a win this weekend, he got another clean sheet, because we've been conceding way too many goals the last few games.
Yeah.
Man City, Leicester, Arsenal, it was really disappointing how many goals we conceded, when actually there was some pretty good individual performances in there. Like Tyrone Mings has had 2 goal line clearances in the last 2 games. He still won't get talked about as how well he's playing, but happens.
See, I don't think he's at his best when I've seen him. I don't think the defence for Villa has been as good. Conse has been a bit off his game as well.
Yeah.
But Martinez, it's funny you mentioned that you hope he stays, because Villa fans' opinion has been pretty much split down the middle on this one for Martinez. And, a lot of them siding with the coach, and understandably there is a bit of Ten Hag Ronaldo sort of feel to it, isn't there, as well? But it's a weird time to call it out, though, isn't there, in some ways? Like, there's still a lot of football to be played. I just think he's a little bit angry at the way things are going at the moment, Emery. He's probably taking it out on Martinez as the scapegoat right now.
I don't think it's as big a deal as it's being made to be, and I think people are looking for it to be a bit of a narrative, because he is the biggest player at the club right now. And obviously, because he's won the World Cup, it's, we must be overly arrogant now because he's got a World Cup winner's medal. Nothing about him suggests that in terms of the way he treats Aston Villa. Yes, he's really confident on the pitch. Yes, he tries to wind up the opposition, but he never says anything other than, I love this club. I'm grateful to what this club have done for me. I want to be at this club. So I think people are trying to make more of a meal out of this than it actually is, if I'm totally honest. And I think any Villa fan that says, we can go if he wants, they're just worried about getting burnt again after what happened with Jack Grealish. I don't think it's absolutely true. No Villa fan wants Emi Martinez to go. Not one of them. Not at all. What they do need is better organisation from set pieces. That's why we're conceding so many goals at the moment.
Oh, God,
we switch up at set pieces
definitely.
so easily. I think we've conceded 13 from set pieces this year. Isn't that ridiculous? And that needs to stop as soon as possible.
With regards to Watkins as well, we're talking about the midfield combinations behind him.
Yeah.
What would you say, from the tinkering that's happened in midfield, is the best combination to get the best out of Ollie Watkins? And also, not just Ollie Watkins, but for you to see which midfield combination works, because John McGinn was massively favoured by Steven Gerrard, wasn't he? He's been a little bit more peripheral this season. The midfield combinations have changed a little bit. What works for you?
Do you know what? I don't know. And that's a really nice position to be in, because actually it's because they all look really good at the moment. You've got 2 guaranteed starters in Boubacar Kamara and Douglas Luiz. They will always be your pivot, and that is excellent to me. Both of them really confident, really good on the ball, great passing range, but also read the game really well. So I'm really happy with those 2 being there. Then Emery likes to play with these 2 players behind a front 2. Now that could be any of Jacob Ramsey, John McGinn, Philippe Coutinho, Emi Buendia. What a great position that is. That is unbelievable depth for Aston Villa, actually. And I thought we probably needed another midfielder, if I'm totally honest, because McGinn was really off form. Ramsey had some injuries, and we hadn't quite seen the same Ramsey we'd seen last season. Coutinho started the season awfully, and Buendia just never looks the favourite for some reason. But actually, Coutinho was excellent against Arsenal. Is looking like he's getting some match fitness back. Buendia came on against Everton and scored as he always does against Everton, which is great. And I thought Ramsey and McGinn were both phenomenal. I thought they played really, really well. And McGinn looks more like John McGinn again. He's pressing
Yeah,
high. He's aggressive. He's playing the ball at the right time. He's not ballooning shots out for throw-ins every time he gets the ball. He looks a lot more assured. So I don't know what the best Villa midfield is right now because you've got those four options in those two spaces. I think it depends as well on who you play up front. If you play Leon Bailey, he tends to drift out wide a bit more. So maybe Coutinho is the best player because he can play off the left a bit more. If you play John Duran, or maybe if we start on a new striker, then maybe it's better to have narrower playmakers like Buendia. So I'm just glad that we have the depth and the options right now. I think it will depend on the opponent. I don't like tinkering too much. I like to have a set
yeah.
11, and Villa have been successful when they've done that in the past. But actually, if that's how Emery wants to work it, it's great variety to have. Really, really encouraging for me.